So what are some of the best opportunities I see in the market? Well, here's the deal. I posted this on my X page here today. If you don't follow me on X, you can always go to the description area. I always have a link down there. Okay, holy smoke, this is my whatever you call it, username or whatever on X. Okay, so I put this. I said 2 stocks that are still an easy money buy in this market and are drama free. I view those as Google and Adobe. Now, when I say drama free, what do I mean about that? Right? Because Google and Adobe both have plenty of drama around them in terms of a lot of question marks around Google from the Wall Streeters over the last year. Oh, AI, is it going to disrupt them? It's going to completely destroy Google, all these sorts of things, right? And I discussed this on the main channel last night, in regards to Google. I've discussed it for the last few months, right? Google's a very well-diversified business. They're set up very well for AI opportunity as well. And they're an absolute ATM machine of, one of the best companies in the world. Like, if you look at their income statement, balance sheet, cash flow, you certainly put them in the top 5 in the world. It's just a question of where are they at in that top 5, essentially. So, but there's a lot of question marks. Adobe, is another one people worry about. Like, is AI going to disrupt them? I look at Adobe and I'm like, maybe in some ways, but AI is also going to benefit Adobe long-term in quite substantial ways as well, right? So Adobe, plenty of drama around it in terms of like worries, but not in terms of the numbers, not in terms of the actual business fundamentals. The commentary, there's plenty of drama. But when I say a stock's drama-free, I'm talking about the fundamentals of business. At the end of the day, look at Google's numbers quarter in and quarter out. They're drama-free. Same thing with Adobe. All these people talk, quarter after quarter, year after year about AI and what it could mean to Google and Adobe and all this talk and chatter. That just is what it is. When you look at the fundamentals of Google, when you look at the fundamentals of Adobe, we see no signs of drama. So when I say a stock is drama-free, that's what I mean. I mean the fundamentals of the company, not the commentary from people out there, right? The fundamentals are, the numbers are proof. Like, look at the numbers. Look at the income statement of Adobe. Look at the income statement of Google. Look at the balance sheet of those companies. Look at the cash flow statement. And you'll be like, yeah, it's pretty drama-free here. Like, they just put up their numbers. Look at the guidance of those companies, right? Now, I also said my 2 favorite stocks no one talks about are Cake and Celsius, right? Cake and Celsius, Celsius was a stock that was heavily talked about probably, I would say 2 years ago. Everybody used to talk about Celsius like crazy, even a year and a half ago. But the Celsius chatter after the stock crashed, man, that went down to about nothing, right? And there I was starting all of a sudden talk about Celsius after it crashed and, great opportunity I saw in the company and those sorts of things, right? And now, we're seeing like it has a ton of momentum, but the hype and talk that Celsius had, a couple of years ago, it's not there anymore. So it's coming back a little bit, but it's still very diminished. Cake, I don't know anybody that talks about Cake other than me. And it's an incredible stock. It's performing tremendous. It just paid me out some very nice dividends, right? In all my different portfolios, I did something fun with my 10-year-old here today. I showed him, the dividend income I received in the public account and in my private portfolios as well. And then, he said something about, the Menendez brothers were kind of his hero. No, I'm just kidding. Well, that took a turn, okay? No, but that really motivated him. I was showing the dividend income, and he's like, well, you get that every 3 months. And then, he was very motivated. He wanted to buy some dividend stocks as well. So he ended up, he bought 3 shares of Cake here today, okay? He bought himself 3 Cake shares, so I think his net worth is just over $1,000 now at this point in time, so good for him. But the moral of the story is here, Cake's a great opportunity. It's a great dividend payer. It's a great value stock. You're getting it at a great deal. And it has the next 10 years of growth ahead of it because it has so many successful restaurant concepts that are going to be able to expand all over the United States of America. And the Cheesecake Factory continues to just be an ATM machine. So I love that stock. No one talks about it, but man, it gives you money. It gives you gains, right? It's been an incredible gainer. And yeah, $868 in the public account. It just paid me out in dividends, paid me out a bunch in other portfolios as well. I love it. My 2 favorite stocks that are actually popular stocks in this market are AMD and SoFi, right? AMD and SoFi, definitely very popular stocks. Those are stocks that are talked about by a lot of people, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on X, AMD and SoFi are definitely popular, but I still love AMD here. I know the stock has gone up a tremendous amount since those April lows. The April lows for AMD was somewhere in the 70s. It was insane, right? And now the stock's over doubled up since that time. But, when it comes to AMD, the next like, oh my gosh, like the growth rates of this company for the next many years. Let me see if I have my numbers saved for AMD here. Let me take a peek here. So what we're on 1000xstocks.com right now. Oh, I didn't save my AMD numbers yet. Dang it. I need to save some AMD numbers here. I have Adobe, Amazon, Apple, Duolingo, Google, and Palantir saved, but I don't have AMD yet. Ugh. I need to get my AMD numbers in here and saved so I can show you guys those in the future, right? But the moral of the story is here in regards to AMD, like growth for days and days and days, right? Years and years and years. SoFi is another absolute growth machine. And the interesting thing about SoFi is we're just trying to figure out, like, what is the sustainable revenue growth for SoFi? Because it's kind of been all over the place. We were in the 20s, now we're in the 40s. And even as a bull on SoFi, I'm trying to figure out, like, is this a company that could sustainably grow revenue 30% plus clip for the next many years? I'm like, maybe they could. Now, the thing that no one talks about with SoFi, I think is really interesting in regards to the stock, is what happens as SoFi starts to build out their cash flows, right? This business really starts to throw off profits, incredible profits. And we know they're kind of going more asset light with this business model, which should be even more incredible for margins and profitability. The question I don't think anybody asks is, what is SoFi going to do with all this money? They should start to stack money, right? Here's what they could do. They could do big share repurchases down the road, right? As those cash flows build out, their net income skyrockets over the next number of years. They could use that and buy back tons of shares, which will help the EPS in obviously a very substantial way. You know what else they could do? And this is something that happens in the financial and banking space all the time. But I think because SoFi has been a smaller company, because they weren't in the best financial situation for a long time, I think a lot of people don't even consider this other option. By the way, dividend, this isn't, where I'm going here is not dividend, but I think it's just worth mentioning. Dividends for SoFi, I don't see that coming anytime soon. Maybe Anthony Noto and the board has a different opinion on them. I don't really foresee them doing dividends anytime soon. The company's too fast to growth. Dividends someday. But I think that's probably 2030s. But we'll see, never know. Maybe they change their mind, but I think that's probably a 2030 story. But the thing I think that SoFi could end up doing once this profitability skyrockets and the cash flow starts to skyrocket and the money starts to stack, and happens all the time in the banking space and fintech, but no one's thinking about it with SoFi yet. You know what they might do? They might start buying out other financial institutions. No, some won't make sense for them. Some will. Because here's the thing, SoFi could start acquiring other assets from other financial institutions, right? And customer bases. And with those customer bases, they can become, they can obviously promote SoFi easier to them, right? And that can obviously help revenue growth in quite a way, and in those cash flows and earnings per share as well. Because many times, if you're going to buy another financial institution of some kind, make a deal like that, even if it's a smaller player, many times, and here's the thing with SoFi, they could acquire, let's say, a financial institution, but then they could maybe sell off the loans to somebody else to keep SoFi light. So maybe they acquire the customer base, right? But maybe then they sell off the loans of, let's say they acquire, the 40th biggest bank, okay? No one talks about them, but it's a little bank. They got a lot of valuable customers at that bank, okay? So they go ahead and acquire them. And it's a bank that, JP Morgan or Wells Fargo or Bank of America couldn't really do because, the government wouldn't let it through. But SoFi, they'll be like, this is fine. So they could acquire that, go ahead and essentially get that customer base, right? And then sell off the loan portion of the business to somebody else, have them take the risk on that, and you remain asset light. So, people haven't even really started to discuss that in regards to SoFi yet, but I'm just trying to think about where SoFi's at 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, right? And I'm like, that's a potential there.
Hey, it's Jeremy. I hope you really enjoyed watching that clip here today. What you're looking at in front of you right there, that's 1000xstocks.com. That's my advanced software that I've been working in the background creating for a long time. This software is so much more advanced than what others are presenting out there in the market. And as somebody that's been in the market 15 years, I want to create something that was simple, that had exactly everything I needed to make my judgments on companies, such as forward P ratios, 2-year out forward P ratios, price to sales ratios, forward price to sales ratios. I wanted the ability to be able to compare different companies versus each other. I wanted to be able to compare a Meta versus a Google versus an Apple and be able to see all those different metrics laid out all next to each other. I wanted a service that I could listen to conference calls right through and even be able to toggle and adjust the speed I wanted to listen to those conference calls. I wanted a service that I could search SEC filings right through. I wanted the ability to do that all in one service, and that is exactly what I've created with 1000xstocks.com. If you want to apply for access to this, go to the description area of this video. You can click that link and go ahead and apply for access to this. If you don't want to do that, you can go to 1000xstocks.com. Enjoy.
Alrighty, next up here, let's get in this next subject. NVIDIA, will it crash the market? And then we'll get into some stocks I want to buy, how much upsides for those stocks, okay? So here's the deal with NVIDIA. We just got a new excitement cycle for NVIDIA. They got this new robot brain, which is coming out, which is going to go on sale for $3,499. This is exciting, right? Now, the thing you got to understand about this robot brain is this matters about zero for NVIDIA the next 12 months. Like, if you think all of a sudden, 12 months from now, we're going to have robots all over the place with these robot brains in them from NVIDIA, and they're going to be making, tens of billions of dollars from this, and it's going to be so meaningful to their business. No, it's just not happening. But 12 years from now, it's a whole different ballgame. When it comes to these exciting cycles, a lot of times it's not about what is happening for the company short term, right? Which this isn't going to be meaningful at all for NVIDIA's business in the short term, but it could be very meaningful for business for the NVIDIA long term, right? 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now. And so this is a step in the right direction. So there's new kind of excitement around NVIDIA in regards to this. People are going to be like excited about that. So that's definitely going to help the stock, regardless of what happens, because people lean back on something like this and say, why do I want to sell? They got this new robot brain. They're going to be they're going to be the brains behind all these robots in the future, right? And so this is something to kind of keep in mind. Now, in regards to the stock, could it crash the market, the fundamentals, right? Here's the thing with NVIDIA. The issue with NVIDIA is not this quarter they're about to report, or even next quarter. If those are the issues, and NVIDIA's got bigger issues, but I don't see those as the issue. I don't see this quarter they're about to report as an issue. I don't see next quarter being an issue either, okay? Once again, if they are, then we got some actual issues, okay? The maybe issue we're going to have would be in their January quarter, okay? Because analysts are pushing close to 50% growth expected that quarter. I think that's going to be a really tough quarter to hit. So I don't think they're going to talk anything about that quarter yet. They're probably just going to focus on last quarter and the upcoming quarter. But that might be an issue down the road. And in these quarters here, you might have, those are going to be tough numbers to hit as well. 38% revenue growth, 37%, 25%. Analysts might need to bring down those numbers. So NVIDIA could end up being a problem. I'm just not 100% convinced it's right now in regards to crashing the whole market. Now, let's say NVIDIA does have an issue with some of their revenue. Does this crash the market? The answer is no. Why would it crash the market? It would hurt the semiconductor space. It would hurt the Qs. Let's say NVIDIA goes down 10% on earnings, right? It's going to hit the Qs hard that day. Is it going to crash the whole market? No. Because NVIDIA is a one-off standalone company that's just benefiting massively from other massive tech companies spending a fortune. If those companies lighten up their buys a little bit, then people will say, oh, that's more money Meta can use on buybacks or dividend raises. Same thing with Google, Microsoft, all these companies. So, you could always flip it and it's actually a positive for all these other companies that are also massive weights in the index, right? You could also say, okay, maybe these big tech companies are going to spend a little bit less with NVIDIA, a little more with AMD over the next few years. So then AMD stock continues to rocket higher during that particular time, and maybe NVIDIA is a little weaker. But will NVIDIA crash the whole stock market? No, it doesn't work like that. So, because it's a whole different phenomenon in regards to what's going on with NVIDIA right now. So, but, I think there are risks involved with NVIDIA. They're just not if NVIDIA was trading at 100 forward P right now, I'd feel very different, but it's not. It's just not, okay? Now, next up here, let's talk about some stocks I want to buy more of. and how much upside is ahead for these stocks. Okay, first one of these two is this one. Google McDougal. Now, the thing with Google McDougal is I bought these shares in the public count April 23rd, 2025. It was 444 shares, average cost 156.90. Already up 33+% on these shares, right? Such an easy money buy it was in April. Like such an easy money buy. But the thing you've got to understand about Google is it's still an easy money buy. People have disrespected Google immensely over the past year. You would have thought this company is like OpenAI deleted them. Like, oh, I still use Google as much, if not more, than I've ever used it. No, maybe there's some people that are like, no, I don't use Google search anymore. I use ChatGPT. Cool. I still use it just as much as I've ever used it, if not more, right? YouTube. Has my YouTube been altered in any respect in terms of me like using YouTube yet less? Because of ChatGPT came out or AI? No. I use YouTube just as much as I ever have, if not more so. I'm sure a lot of you guys can attest to that as well. You probably do as well, right? Has AI made everybody say, I don't want Android anymore? I'm getting rid of my Android device. No, doesn't look like that. Android market share looks better than it's ever been, right? His AI collapsed their cloud business anyway? No, the cloud business looks phenomenal. YouTube TV, did it collapse YouTube TV, AI? No. YouTube TV's number one biggest player out there, right? You just go through this, you can just keep going through, and you're like, this AI thing is like, and Gemini continues to actually be very impressive. So this like notion about like Google's doomed, oh my gosh, like it's just a false notion in my opinion. It's very disrespectful and not on a very educated level to understand where Google's actually at as a company. Is ChatGPT and other products, can they be in some ways a threat to Google? Sure, some ways, but there's a lot of other ways they're not. And so, and this whole AI boom, it's going to likely end up making Google more money than costing them money in the end. So, I think the death of Google has been greatly exaggerated, right? Now, there's also the worries about the current administration being anti-Google and things like that, and that is what it is, but that's why these big companies have incredible law firms behind them, right? Now, here's the other thing you got to understand about Google and why it's still a great buy right now. The forward P's 20 on this stock. And keep in mind, Google many times comes in and beats their numbers. So you see it at 20, it might end up actually being lower than 20. But with all the growth Google has, you can make a case that it's one of the safest companies you can invest in the entire stock market. When you look at their cash flow statement, their income statement, their balance sheet, and their growth rates, you could make an argument that it's one of the safest companies in the entire stock market to invest in. And it trades at a forward P of 20. Still a buy. Stock number two of these stocks, I still want to buy more of this stock, but it just keeps going up so fast. It's a tough one. And that is SoFi. Mr. Limitless, I call it. Up another 4.5 percentage points here today. We're now up 214% on the stock in the public count. Cost basis of $830, 5,000 shares I own. I want more. This is just such a limitless stock, and it's just like, it's tough though. The thing with SoFi is, and the reason it's limitless is you look at the growth rates are just ridiculous. Like, what was last quarter? Like 40% plus revenue growth, right? And you just think about how big this company could become in the next 5-10 years, right? They've got to make it through the recessions, as I always speak to you guys about in regards to SoFi. They got to make it out to the other side. They will face recessions. And as somebody in the financial space of, banking related, fintech, the biggest thing is make it through those recessions, out to the other side, and then you just absolutely dominate. When you get through that recession, there's so much money to be made. That's what SoFi just has to do. And if they can do that, it's Mr. Limitless. There's just so much growth in this company, and the way Anthony Noto's running the business is incredible. And so, SoFi is a hard one to even say where the top is. Because the bottom line is with SoFi, if Anthony Noto can pull this one off, This could become a JP Morgan-ish type company a decade out. It can become a Wells Fargo, Bank of America type company a decade out. A giant in the financial space. Not like a little niche player like they would be viewed kind of nowadays, right? No, a giant, a banking juggernaut. Like where they start to make and have so much money that, they can start plastering their name all over skyscrapers in New York City if they want, okay? That sort of money, JP Morgan type money, Wells Fargo type money, Bank of America type money, Citi type money. That's the type of money we're talking about. So that's why I call it Mr. Limitless. It's a hard stock to value short term because the growth is so explosive. Very tough stock to. And also, when you look at how much their profitability should skyrocket over the next few years, it's a very tough stock to value. So you could be looking at it at 26 and be like, man, it's a ripoff. And that's fair. Like, I think there's a strong case to be made that 26 is not a good price for SoFi. But you could also look at it and say, SoFi at 26 is a great deal because this is going to be a $50 to $100 stock very shortly, right? So I think there's strong arguments to be made either way. And it's conflicting for me because I'm up so much in the position. I'm like, do I really want to go buy more shares of a stock I'm up 200+% on? I kind of do, but I'm like, I don't know. Like, that's up so, it's one thing to buy a stock when you're up 20% on it. Do you buy more shares when you're up over 200%? And it's not like this is like a position I've had for like years and years and years. I've been like, I'm going to hold the stock for 10 years and I made 200%. No. Like, this is a stock I built into a big position really in the past like 24 months. And so to make that much that quickly, tough. But I kind of secretly do want to buy more shares. We'll see what happens, okay?